Coffee with an Expert is a monthly meeting series, 30 minutes every month to discuss digital manufacturing and smart factories with our Proficy experts. Thank you very much for joining us. See our schedule for the year. Feel free to register for the sessions of your interest using the QR code. Our next session will be on July 16 and will be focused on the metals industry, but we will also have sessions on sustainability or accelerating time to value. Don't miss them. Next. We are meeting today to discuss streamlining packaging lines operations with Proficy Smart Factory. We are joined by two manufacturing experts today. Michal Jardzinski from the business consultant team at Velotic and Hendrik Koyen, managing director at Centif. They will share their experience helping manufacturers improve their packaging line performance through real-time visibility, data-driven insight, and coordinated operations. Michal, over to you.
Thank you, Magali, for the introduction. Good morning, everybody. Hello, Hendrik. Happy for the opportunity to spend coffee time with you today. Today, we focus on, I believe, a very down-to-earth topic, which is packaging. That is something that is virtually present in every type of manufacturing. And let's start with having a brief look at the agenda. Today, I will kick things off with a concise overview of who we are. Next, we will focus on the challenges and opportunities that unlock potential in the packaging area. Most of the session we will spend on point number 3 and 4. This is the use cases in the actual use case, the reference case, that in which Hendrik is going to share his implementation experience from a customer project. We will wrap up the session with a dedicated time to allow any questions you might have. Let me start with who we are and the foundation we're building from. Velotic is a new company formed out from the carve-outs of Proficy business at GE Vernova and the ThinkWorks and Kepware businesses from PTC. We start at real scale with more than 1,200 employees, operations in 27 countries, more than 150 dedicated partners, 8,000 customers operating in virtually all types of industries. Those numbers matter because they give us ability to invest, to support customers globally, and to stay focused on industrial outcomes on manufacturers. Velotic brings together the experience and expertise of Proficy, Kepware, and ThinkWorks into one focused company. What is compelling today is not just the strength of each product family, but the completeness of the portfolio together. Velotic serves as a comprehensive industrial software partner, helping customers move from connectivity and data operations through SCADA, Historian, MES scheduler software up to the last layer, analytics and OT with powerful applications and intelligent action. This brings us to the second chapter, which is challenges and opportunities to unlock hidden potential. Objective for this session is to investigate and to seek alignment on 3 things: the challenges that are getting in your way, the ideal outcomes you seek if those challenges were removed, and the value that would be unlocked when the challenges are mitigated and the outcomes are achieved. Here is what customer, executives, analysts, and our 30 years of experience are telling us are challenges today. For the session today, we specifically focus on 5 key points that aggregated into 3 areas deliver highest impact. We're going to focus on these identified outcomes, on these identified challenges with outcomes for each of those. The first challenge is about having unplanned downtime and micro steps that reduce line efficiency. I'm sure it's resonating. It's a common issue connected directly to throughput and cost. Objective is to have real-time line monitoring and downtime analytics that in the end delivers measurable OEE gains. Second challenge is about crucial work that operator does. In a complex world of manufacturing, with a lot of variations, new product introductions, and specific changeover procedures, a lot depends on operator knowledge. Shortages of labor and talent definitely make execution difficult. Objective is to standardize work and to empower operators with guidance that reduces setup losses and increases the work satisfaction of employees with, for example, electronic work instructions, instead of having a big book of SKU-specific procedures. Third challenge is about islands of data, with typically lots of paper traveling through the process, which means that manufacturers lack the ability to retrieve the data out of this information, to retrieve information about visibility, having an ability to perform analysis or analytics. In order to drive the efficiencies and optimize the cost, digitalization is needed. And digital transformation is not only about removing paper from the process, it's about making the whole process more flexible, easier to manage and control. Now let's explore what's exactly the value of that hidden potential, which can be unlocked if Proficy Smart Factory solution is applied to the challenges we have just seen. We will have a set of down-to-earth examples, very practical, very detailed. They come directly from our applications in the packaging area. Let's start with the first one. We will focus on how production management addresses packaging line overall. We will compare situation in the past with what is now in one of the installations. In the past, lot code was generated by the planner. Printers and labelers required manual input from the operator. Finished pallets were registered in SAP manually. Moreover, operator had to walk to pallet every time and was manually checking correctness of each label on a final pallet. Summarized production data had to be entered manually as well. Expiry date had to be changed every midnight, stopping production and forcing break due to procedures. Now with Proficy Smart Factory, MES automatically creates, collects, and aggregates information that is transferred to external software, in this case, label management software and ERP. Unique codes are automatically generated for labelers, printers, and the expiry date is automatically calculated, meaning that the overnight changes no longer cause disruption. Operator is not participating in any manual or error-prone work related to setting up the equipment nor inputting the data. Application safeguards this. Operator is not able to transition to an active status unless preparation and transfer of codes has been finished. Waste and time significantly improved thanks to automatization of tasks. Work of operator is easier now, while value brand is protected. The second case is about complexity in packaging operations that influence work of operator. In the past, operator had to work with non-intuitive applications, making operator onboarding difficult and lowering user satisfaction. There were too many systems to work with during daily tasks, adding unnecessary complexity to operator duties. And complexity equals to higher chance of making mistakes or increasing the time loss. Work instructions were difficult to find. Additional information such as material properties like shelf time had to be printed every time on paper and added to order documents. Now, operator has unified user interface with modern user experience. Simpler application for the user speeds up his work and increases satisfaction. All necessary information is presented on the screen in a single application. View is tailored to user rights, meaning each persona has a dedicated views or a dedicated set of pages. Work instructions are delivered in a convenient way. Key information is captured, passed, and exchanged between production employees thanks to the digital logbook functionality. Now we look at the third case, which is related to the downtime, to microstops, and efficiency overall. From the perspective of one of our implementations, I will compare again the past with what is now. In the past, problems were found after the shift, day, or week was over. Data used for calculating efficiency was collected manually, which put burden on the operators and made the data inconsistent. You might have calculated OEE from the data, But the downtime losses were vague or wrong, in fact. Speed losses were hidden, quality losses weren't traced to the root cause. Problems were discovered too late, root causes weren't captured consistently, and as a consequence, same issues repeated shift after shift. That was about fixing symptoms instead of fixing root causes. Efficiency data, like OEE, wasn't standardized. You couldn't compare lines, shifts, or plans. Best practices stayed local, and management discussions were in fact opinion-based, not fact-based. So to sum up, customer ended up flying blind. Now with Proficy Smart Factory, machines are connected and give immediate visibility whether the status equals running, stopped, start, or blocked. Real-time production visibility is enabled. This gives value of having immediate awareness of what is happening on the plant floor. When a stop happens, losses are automatically captured with operator having possibility to correct reason from a predefined reason tree. If loss means certain criteria, for example, stop loss or performance loss due to machine being starved, it retrieves the proper status. This gives clarity on where time is really lost. No more guessing or arguing about root causes. Instead of discussions, we can focus on what matters most, where my action will have biggest impact. It's fact-based improvement actions. Now, the accurate and actionable OEE is calculated automatically and consistently. There is one tool that makes comparison between shifts, lines, plans, teams, and this helps with clear definition of what good performance really is and enables faster rollout of improvements across facility. Efficiency management in MES turned production data into daily decisions, into faster improvements and sustainable performance gains without adding more people or machines. Now let's explore the reference case called Hochwald Foods that Hendrik is going to walk us through. The implementation includes packaging, among other departments, and addresses several of the use cases we have just discussed. Hendrik, over to you.
Thank you. Maybe short introduction. I'm Hendrik from Centif, and as Centif, we're a system integrator. We're integrating projects from sensor towards ERP. And in this case, we're talking about Hochwald. And Hochwald Foods, they have a remarkable history, let's say. It all started in 1894, and it was founded as a factory for sweetened or sugar condensed milk. It's used in bakeries to make desserts and so on and so on. Later on, it was acquired by Nestlé. I think you all know Nestlé, and they added ready to drink. So it's more you have to think about milkshakes in cans or the cold coffee like you see on the picture. And in 2006, Nestlé sold the factory to Hochwald, which became Hochwald Foods in the Netherlands. And starting from 2006, they invested in the factory, and they even added the bottle line for making the glass bottles or filling out the glass bottles, which you see at the right side of the picture. Now, enough about the history. Let's talk about the process they have in place. And I think it's very interesting because they're not only filling out the cans or the glass bottles, but they're also making them. So they have a department where they produce the cans, and at the same time in the process they can mix or blend the milk into beverages. And at the second step, they're coming together. So they start filling the cans. In case it needs to be sterilized, they have autoclaves in place. They're labeling the cans. They're boxing and palletizing everything and store it in their warehouse. I think that's, in short, what they're doing as their process flow. From a technical aspect, it's interesting to know that they had already an MES called MES 2000. And the number or the name is saying the age of the system. So it was outdated, and they wanted to look for a new MES system with more capabilities and new additions in terms of functionality. They have already coming from a German mother company, they have already SAP in place. At that time, they also had Nice Label and PLC, a fully automated factory. We've placed Proficy in the middle, and I think it's interesting because they were interfacing the order and the master data, not only the orders, but also product data and nested bombs. And I'll come back on that later, why it's really interesting to have it coming from SAP as well. And sending back from MES, we're sending back the handling unit data. So if the pallet was created, it's automatically sent back to SAP. Now we have the orders in place, we have the master data of the products in place. We were also able to send parameters directly to the PLCs as soon as an order has started. And coming from the PLCs or the machines is coming pallet feedback, but also downtime signals, even sometimes the downtime reasons. Coming back on that as well later on. And now we know everything about the order and the product. We can also send all information towards Nice Label to automatically print the labels, correct labels with the right information on top. This was all the beginning, and I think 1 year ago or 2 years ago, they also added a dedicated LIMS system in parallel, so it's a dedicated system. And we provided all production data towards LIMS, so they can act as the single source of truth for the LIMS system. Now, to the application itself. So they created blueprints together with us. As we saw through the process, they have different kind of units, and for each and every production unit, we try to make a unique blueprint which they can roll out afterwards. We're now looking at the order overview, so they see the active order, but also the upcoming orders. I think as you all know, what's different maybe is that they have a lot of tabs specifically built for Hochwald. So what was important is that all the information is available for the operator and in a clear way. So what we did, for example, is we added order comments, and in each and every stage of the order, they can add a comment. If there's a comment, it's clear for the operator that there's one, and he has to check it for running the production smoothly. At the same time, and I think that's the next one they have like it's called HU data, and for everyone who has like SAP in place, it's a handling unit data. So it's all information regarding the pallets, lot codes, EAN codes, and so on and so on. So as soon we start an order, the lot codes and the expiry dates are calculated automatically, and they're enriched in the order data. And at the same time, besides the handling unit data, there's some information about the pallet layers, the quantity on a pallet, how many labels the applicator will add to the label to the pallet, and so on and so on. The next step is bill of materials products. This is interesting because SAP was sending us a nested bomb with all different products which are needed for making this order. And I'll come back on that later, but it's important to know that the operator can only see, depending on the units he's producing, only the products which are needed for this production step. Besides the bill of materials, we also have the production metrics, and this is also depending on the unit where the operator is working on. So, for example, this is for a filling line. Here you see, for example, which coding types are used on the sides of the cans. What is the weight they're filling out the cans? But for example, for the autoclaves, it are really parameters. So this is, for example, a set point in minutes or a temperature in degrees Celsius. And as soon as the order is started, the production metrics or the set points parameters are sent to the machine. As soon the last pallet is coming out of the autoclave and the next order will really become active, then all parameters are sent to the machine itself, and they become the actual parameters. So this makes that the operator has no possibility to make mistakes to set up the machine. The next screen is showing the part where I was telling about the bill of materials. So the nested bomb is coming over from SAP, but SAP doesn't know production units as we know in production. And this is a big difference because here we enrich the master data, which is coming from SAP and where SAP is master of. And here MES becomes master of some details of the bill of materials. So once a new product is created, Hochwald is adding a kind of a link between a bill of material product and a kind of machine or production unit. And this is how the filtering on the screens is done. Once it knows its data, it keeps it in the database, and next time this product is produced, it all knows how it should go. Then we also have downtimes. So as I told, it's connected to the machines. If the machine can report the reason, then we're automatically capturing it and assigning the downtime with a reason. If not, the operator can select the downtime, and with the reason tree, which is set up within Proficy Smart Factory, they can assign the correct reason to the right downtime. All data is stored, and I think, and that's a good point of Hochwald, they decided to capture all data, and later on, and we're now at that point in time, they start using this data. So they start gathering data, logging everything, but they were not really working on this, but they're doing it right now. Similar to downtimes, we're capturing all wastes. Maybe a different thing, and this is really a good point for my opinion. You can not only register waste on the active order, but they have also the possibility to register waste on the 2 previous orders. So by selecting the right order, filling out the waste amount or quantity, giving it a comment or a reason, they can register on previous 2 orders as well. Because sometimes, and I think we all know, there are some waste or there's some products next besides the line, and you have to register it as waste, but it's for a previous order. Now it's possible within the application. And I think last but not least, this is what we're working at for the moment. So it's a work in progress dashboard we're looking at. Now they have all data. They start working with this data. So they start creating dashboards for management, for the shift leader, and so on, to see what's really happening. What was the shift before doing? Are we on target? Are we not on target? What was the downtime to Pareto? And in this way, they can work and improve their production. And this was the latest slide I had about the solution.
Thank you, Hendrik. This brings us to the final part of the session. So a time for questions. We are open to any questions you might have. And from my view, the important takeaway from you is that Proficy Smart Factory helps packaging operations, and it helps on the different angles. It can be improving OEE, giving a standardized execution for the operators, but also giving necessary visibility to people that need it. So there is many things we can help with. And having said that, let's turn our attention to the chat if there are any questions.
Yes, thank you very much for this presentation, Michal, and thank you very much, Hendrik, for sharing your perspective and also this experience with the customer. It's always very insightful. So we have received questions. So on the lesson learned or best practices recommendation from Hochwald, from the organization planning to implement MES. So what are the lesson learned or best practice recommendations from this experience?
I think it's what they really did. Where they really did a good job is they created blueprints together with us, and they really tested it a lot. So they were sure that before rolling out, they had a solid blueprint. And besides that, and I think it's really important as well. As soon the blueprints were ready, they did the rollout all by themselves, and they used us as a second line support on rolling out. But they really want to have the application for them, and that they have knowledge about the application as well.
Thank you. So please continue to ask your questions in the chat. And if you want and you have a more specific question, you can also contact our colleague Cataldo. You can see his email on the screen. And he will take care of your request and send it with the expert who can best answer it. So another question, this is about packaging lines, but manufacturing is not only packaging. Is your MES capable of working in other departments, or is it packaging focused solution only?
Okay, let me take this one. So Proficy Smart Factory, our MES has been historically recognized by ability to work with different types of manufacturing in the same installation, in the same solutions. We have dedicated structures, dedicated modules to accommodate both the process and the discrete type of manufacturing, and also a very hybrid-like scenarios. And indeed, while we focus today on packaging and certain challenges in packaging, which is, for example, lot codes, or managing labelers, printers, or material properties like the shelf time, there is a reason for this, because packaging can be, it's virtually in every type of manufacturing. That is why having a dedicated discussion on this made sense. But yes, this MES is capable of working in other types of manufacturing and in other departments as well.
Okay, thank you. I also wanted to mention that this session is recorded, so we will share the recording after the webinar ends, so you can replay it or share it with your colleagues. So another question, what are the integration options with other systems? In our case, we have an existing software that is responsible for batch production and another software that does efficiency calculations. We don't want to replace them at the moment. So what are the integration options?
Okay, let me take this one as well. So Proficy Smart Factory possesses a vast range of integration or interfacing capabilities. In fact, we see MES as a central point of integration. On one hand, it's about integration with common enterprise software like ERP, CMMS, or PLM, and with the plant floor, but it can also be much more. In implementations, it's normal. It's perfectly normal that we fit to the puzzle you have with your software landscape within your installation. So there is going to be no issue with that batch production module and another software that does calculations for efficiency.
Maybe if I can add the look as a system integrator on this. Yeah, the software is open, so that's really important. So it's based on foundations of Microsoft or on databases. So in fact, you can link anything towards Proficy Smart Factory.
Thank you. I don't see more questions, but again, feel free to reach out to my colleague Cataldo if you have more questions after this webinar ends or more specific questions. He will share it with our colleagues. And thank you very much for your participation. This is always a pleasure to have a guest speaker such as Hendrik with us today. So thank you very much. And we hope to see you in the next Coffee with an Expert. Bye.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.